When browsing through my list of over 300 games I intend to platinum, I can get a little bit overwhelmed. So what better to do than let fate guide my hand and start a new series where I spin this here wheel, and whatever it lands on will decide my journey. And my god, what a game to start with. Fallout 4 is a game by Bethesda where you venture around a post-apocalyptic world, completing objectives, scavenging for gear, and getting bum-rushed by deathclaws. Honestly, I don't feel like much more needs to be said, as finding someone in the gaming scene who hasn't heard of this game is about as easy as finding someone who wants to be my friend. PSN Profiles gives this game a 3 out of 10 in difficulty, which is fine by me. The troublesome part is the suggested 70 hours this will take to complete. So I think it would be best if I just shut up and head into the first stage of 6 and start the story. This game is set in 2077 on the brink of an all-out war. We play as this Conan O'Brien lookalike on another beautiful morning with my wife Nora and kid Sean. After getting a knock at my door, I open up to LA Noire over here, telling me that my family and I have been accepted into the vault for serving my country. I also get the chance to allocate my stats evenly and choose my name, which I decided to pick based off of the noise my belly aches when I really need to take a dump. It seems my son doesn't like my name very much, however, since he immediately begins crying. So, as the good father I am, I go over to comfort him, only for nuclear hell to break loose. This is why you don't have kids! With the sky now falling and Chicken Little being nowhere to be found, we take the time to leg it over to Vault 111 just in the nick of time, barely escaping the blast. After being shown around, we're escorted to our decontamination pods, where we... Wait, why is it so icy? Oh goddammit, these are cryopods! Fortunately, we awaken from our cryo-induced slumber just in time to see the pilot of a new Cocomelon series, Wife Gets Capped and Boy Gets Kidnapped. It's a work in progress, alright? After waking up once more, the first chapter officially begins, and we're told to vacate the vault. So, we head for the exit, fending off some giant roaches on the way, ew, and nabbing ourselves a Pip-Boy. Finally reaching the outside world and obtaining our first trophy, War Never Changes, only to find the world I once knew was gone, and in its place was a depressing and desolate wasteland.
Oh, poop.
Making our way home, we find Codsworth somehow still up and functioning, who informs us that we've been gone for over 200 years, meaning we have a lot of work to be done, starting with scouring the neighbourhood for resources. After coming up empty-handed, I was told there are survivors who may know my son's whereabouts in Concord, so we head onwards to a new land. On the way there, I ran into a very good boy who I managed to recruit on my mission, before we both get absolutely swarmed by these grotty-ass mole rats. With them dead, we continue onwards together, finally reaching Concord, where we fend off a bunch of raiders who are attacking a settlement, find a new gun, and head inside to clear those assholes out. Inside, I find a group of settlers holed up upstairs with a perception bobblehead for a free perception point. I'll be taking that. They wanted me to nab a minigun from a crashed plane that was on the roof, using the power armor that was conveniently placed next to it, so that they could get the hell out of here. Being the saint I am, I help out by entering the power armor and using it to shoo off some unfriendly folk, unintentionally disturbing a nearby deathclaw and getting my ass eaten for my first death of the game. Having learned my lesson, I nab the minigun once more, this time staying back and letting the deathclaw clear out the raiders before emptying my ammo out on the freak, until he eventually hits the floor and the battle is won. Reporting back, we get rewarded with some caps before being told we're in for a hell of a fun time by old Mystic Meg over here. She recommends I go to Diamond City, while the leader, Preston, tells us our assistance on helping them move to Sanctuary would be very valuable, creating the first fork in the road. From here, the world really opened up and I was able to pick the direction I would take to move forward, slowly but surely getting ever closer to being reunited with my family. So I began tearing through all the story-related trophies I could get my hands on, admittedly having a little bit of a hard time to begin with. Fuck. But eventually managing to obtain all 13 story-based trophies in this stage, as well as 3 trophies for reaching level 5, 10 and 25, 1 for completing 10 side quests, and 5 other miscellaneous trophies on the way, like this one for getting absolutely bodied by a suicide bomber. What? I don't think I won the trophy after that! Before finally reaching the first key moment in the playthrough at the end of stage 1. And it only took 15 hours. The reason this point is so important is due to the way this game's faction mechanic works. In the game, you can align yourself with a faction like the Brotherhood or the Railroad, but by doing so, some quests that you would get for being a part of a different faction may become inaccessible, thus making any quest-related trophies for those missions unobtainable. So, what can you do, you may ask? Good question. The answer? You cheese it. This moment here, just before the quest, the molecular level, is the last moment you have while completely neutral. From here, I can pick a faction, obtain all of the trophies related to that specific quest line, then reload a save I made right before siding with them, and simply pick another faction until I've played them all. So, that's exactly what I did, starting with the Minutemen. Here, I simply had to complete the main storyline without aligning with anyone other than, of course, the Minutemen, who you naturally end up with at the start of the game anyway. We start off by decoding a chip we obtained previously to get a code that would allow me to teleport to the Institute where my boy Sean was being kept. With this being the Minutemen ending, I went and asked them to assist me in my rescue mission and began crafting the teleporter that would get me inside as instructed by this guy Sturges. Only problem was, I couldn't tell him I'd completed the foundations because he was stuck on the goddamn roof. So I quickly went to collect more materials for the full structure, earning what's yours is mine for picking 50 locks. What's yours is mine, as well as animal control for killing 300 creatures before finishing the teleporter and by some miracle making my way inside in one piece, giving me the molecular level. Once here, I spoke to the one in charge known as Father, who gave me a lovely tour, but more importantly, I was able to see my boy, who promptly rejected us, only for me to be handed the biggest plot twist since The Sixth Sense. This was but a robotic imitation, and the real Sean was Father all along. In my slumber, he had grown old and become the leader of the Institute, and so, with my mind completely boggled, I explored a bit more, meeting some new people, earning institutionalized, before killing my son! Had to be done, boyo, had to be done. Now enemies with the Institute, I returned to the Minutemen, who told me one of our settlements, called the Castle, was under attack. So I rushed over to help, unintentionally starting the longest fight of my life, before starting the final mission, the nuclear option. In this final mission, I used this here pipe to sneak my way into the Institute, opened up the teleporter so the Minutemen could join me inside, passed by my now physics-defying corpse of my son, sorry again, and planted a bomb right on their nuclear reactor's core before warping out and blowing that baby sky high, putting an end to the Institute and my first playthrough of this game, giving me the nuclear option, as well as prepared for the future. The next 3 stages of this platinum entail playing through the second half of the game 3 more times, each playthrough with me being allied with a different one of the remaining factions. But to save this video from being released in 2029, I won't go into any detail about the subsequent playthroughs, just know that it took quite the while, and along the way I was also able to obtain Never Go It Alone for recruiting 5 companions, as well as Masshole for game-ending 300 people. And just like that, the story was done, and I was onto the more specific, remaining miscellaneous trophies. First thing I did was head back to Sanctuary to make sure the happiness rating was constantly going up, which you'll later see was completely useless. Then I headed out to hit a home run in Diamond City. This literally just meant running across all the base plates in order, so that was pretty nice. The next trophy I went for was a bit more finicky, however. I needed to max out a companion's affinity for me, and to do that, I did some research and found a good but very grindy method. I first teamed up with Piper before heading to this school and finding this safe here. I then picked the lock, which she seemed to like, then sat here and wait for 2 in-game hours before relocking the safe using this terminal and picking it again. I did this for about a good 30 minutes before deciding a more efficient use of my time was just to get this trophy naturally while completing 50 side quests for the Mercenary trophy. While doing my good deeds, I was also able to pickpocket an enemy and place a live grenade on them for pickpocket, and eventually make Piper fall in love with me for lovable, before finally being rewarded the Mercenary trophy. I then thought I'd try a different method of getting a settlement to 100% happiness and headed over to Red Rocket Truck Stop, where I set up a bed, a water station, a turret, and a bar before assigning the only settler I have to go and work it, and filling the workshop with all the food that I had. With this done, I should now be able to leave and wait for the happiness to reach 100%. So, I thought I'd try out an exploit where I travelled to the castle, headed over here to South Boston's military checkpoint, and hacked this terminal, being sure not to open the door, before getting just far enough away to teleport back to the castle and... oh. My console just turned off. In fact, this happened twice. I can't imagine this was a problem with the game, but it was certainly a setback. Either way, I came back a few hours later, repeating the previous steps over and over again, until eventually I'd hacked 50 terminals and got myself Robco's worst nightmare. I then headed back to Diamond City to buy a baseball bat, and then back to Sanctuary where I'd used my 1,000+ pieces of wood to craft as many colour mods for my bat as I could, before dropping them all and making them again until I'd made 50 total for Armed and Dangerous. Armed and Dangerous! Easy. I then went and crafted as many things as I could in the chemist station before gathering mountains of fertilizer to make a shed ton of jets to push me over 100 crafts for Wasteland DIY. I then went searching for some giants to slay, heading over to Murkwater construction site to face the Mirelurk Queen, who almost did me in, but I managed to finish her off first before heading south of Walden Pond to take down a behemoth with a mini nuke before doing the exact same just south of Greentop Nursery. And he's not dead, earning the harder they fall. My next goal was to collect 20 magazines, so I went scouring throughout the land for a good while before eventually amassing enough for Prince Not Dead. At this point, I noticed my happiness rating in Red Rocket Truck Stop was already at 91%, so I thought I'd visit and wait for it to reach 100, which, after no joke about 3 real-life hours of standing around, it finally did, giving me possibly the most annoying trophy of the game, Benevolent Leader. Yes! Benevolent Leader! Oh, thank God, leaving me with only 3 trophies remaining. 2 of them I could quickly tick off by collecting the 12 remaining bobbleheads in the game I had yet to find, so I quickly gathered them all up for both their not dolls and their action figures, before trying out a glitch I saw for some easy XP. First thing I did was head to Sanctuary to make sure I had a good amount of copper on me. Then I dropped it, entered edit mode and pressed square and circle in rapid succession, being sure not to let go of circle, which should bring up these 2 menus at the same time. Then, simply by pressing cross twice, it doubled the amount that I had dropped. Took a while to get the timing down, but once I had, it was incredibly convenient to use. With more copper than I'd ever need now in my possession, I went and filled the settlement size by placing down these here statues until I'd reached the limit and could place no more. I then simply scrapped the last one I'd built and placed a new one, scrapping and placing in rapid succession over and over, netting myself an insane amount of experience each time, until eventually, it happened. Come on! Yes! Legend of the Wastes! Come on, give it to me. Platinum Trophy! You may think it was a bit scummy of me to use a glitch to get this final trophy, but since I used completely different save points to get each ending of the game, I feel like I would have naturally surpassed level 50 anyway, so I don't feel all too bad. But that's that. Overall, I can see why this game is so beloved by many, as it does have its moments, but my god, this was certainly a time-consuming and incredibly grindy journey. Thankfully, most of the countless hours I spent searching the Wastelands was a rather enjoyable experience, however, but I am still happy to say that the task is now behind me. So be sure to drop a like if you'd like to see me spin this dreaded wheel once more, and I'll see you next time.